This is one of my favorite clips of the last couple of days. Scott Galloway, former guest on this program, whose podcast I listen to, he's a super wealthy entrepreneur investor type, NYU business school professor, and he went on MSNBC. He's in the lower right of this shot that I have up on the screen. Scott Galloway went on MSNBC and said to a stunned doofusy panel, hey, US tax policy is oligarchic. We need to raise taxes dramatically for the super rich. Will he ever be allowed back on MSNBC? I don't know, but laying this out so clearly. Check it out.
Once you get above a certain level of wealth, you get no incremental happiness. So why on earth would you not go back to a tax policy of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, where, say, above, pick a big number, 10 million, you actually pay more than 10%, maybe more than 20%, maybe more than 50%, because the difference between 30,000 a year for a household and 50,000 is enormous to the well-being of that household. Low-income kids in low-income households have higher resting blood pressure, but the difference between making 10 million a year and 15 million a year offers you no happiness. But these individuals have weaponized government, and we risk revolution, whether it's CEOs being murdered in the street, whether it's a Me Too movement that had righteous components of it, or Black Lives Matter. What are these movements? They are targeting the wealthy. We are in the midst of a series of small revolutions to correct income inequality. And the reason we put an insurrectionist and a rapist in office is because for the first time in our nation's history, a 30-year-old man or woman isn't doing as well as his or her parents were at 30. Why? Because the majority of households are having the oxygen sucked out of the room, such that a small number of individuals and a small number of companies can be worth more than nation states. Income inequality is out of control. Our tax policy has gone full oligarch.
This is exactly right. It relates to why the trickle-down economic idea of cutting taxes for the rich in order to boost the economy as a whole does not work. And it gets to the core of what is arguably wrong with American tax policy. Scott Galloway, I think he's worth somewhere between $100 million and $200 million. If you listen to his podcast, I listen to it, it's very good with Kara Swisher, you would not be surprised that he is saying what he is saying. But he is simply telling us what is uncontroversially reality based on economics. The marginal utility of a dollar diminishes the more dollars you have. And this is at the core of why just cutting taxes for the rich isn't good for the economy. Forget about the morality of it. There is a morality case to be made that the level of inequality we have in this country is immoral. That you can absolutely make an ethical and moral case for that. Maybe you don't care about that. Or maybe your morality is you should just get to keep all of what you make, even if you were making it on the backs of taxpayer-funded programs and roads and legal infrastructure and protection and all. You just don't care. But if I make a dollar, I should get to keep a dollar. Zero should go to the government. Okay. There's an economic case here that is abundantly clear, and it is demand-side economic stimulus. If you think about $1 million, think about $1 million in government revenue, and you have two choices of what to do with that $1 million. You're going to do a tax cut. Who do you give that money to? The way that typical, particularly Republican tax policy works is you give $800,000 from that million to the very rich. And what do they mostly do with it? They put it in the bank. They don't do anything with it. And the economic stimulus effect of that is very low because the money, yes, if you put it in the bank can take a portion of it and loan it out, but the economic multiplier of that is low. On the other hand, imagine if you took the bulk of that $1 million and you gave it to families that make 40 grand a year in $4,000 increments, right? So the idea is 10%, right? They make 40 grand. You take most of that million and you start doling out $4,000 tax cuts to a bunch of families that make 40 grand. They are going to spend all of that money or almost all of that money. Why? their marginal propensity to consume is significantly higher. If you make 40 grand, it's very likely that you'd probably like to be eating out a little bit more if you had the money. You'd probably like to be enrolling one of your kids in an additional activity, maybe a summer camp or karate or who knows what. You would like to maybe make a small improvement to your home. You will almost certainly spend that money because your surplus is relatively low. When you hire your local contractor or go out to local restaurants, the economic multiplier of that is very, very high. So taken in total, if you give the $1 million as tax cuts to earners under 50 grand, it's way better for the economy than if you just give it to a relatively smaller number of rich folks. And by the way, if you're one of the rich folks, you benefit from the money going to those lower earners. Why? Because now they have more money with which they can go to you as maybe a business owner and buy whatever you're selling. And so Scott Galloway is absolutely on point here. He would pay more under what he is describing, and we'll see if he's welcome back onto MSNBC. All right, a couple quick things. Monday is Inauguration Day. We are going to be doing an Inauguration Day membership special to gear up for the next 4 years. Yes, it will be depressing that Trump is going to be inaugurated. Yes, I'm sure his speech will be a farcical gong show and we're all going to say, oh my goodness, how do I avoid crying? Maybe by laughing, I don't know. But we're going to try to do something and continue getting organized. If you'd like to be notified about this membership special for Inauguration Day, get on the mailing list at davidpakman.com. You'll see where you can type in your email address and sign up for it. You can also email info@davidpakman.com and say, give me that inauguration special, David. And then finally, we have set a deadline for getting the free stuff that comes with pre-ordering my book. I wrongly thought that you could get the free stuff for pre-orders all the way up through the release date of the book. My publisher has told me that because there have been so many pre-orders, we are going to set a limit. So here's the deal. If you want all of the free stuff that comes with pre-ordering my book, you must pre-order the book and submit your order receipt no later than 11:59 p.m. on January 25th, okay? Pre-order the book anywhere, any version, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, your local bookstore, ebook, Kindle, doesn't matter. davidpakman.com/free book stuff. Do not email about it. Okay, some people have been emailing. You've got to submit it. davidpakman.com/free book stuff. You can get your free stuff up to the end of January 25th. I'm going to say it another way. You will not get your free stuff if you don't submit by that date. Emailing me won't help. My publisher is handling all of this stuff. I've been notified that of the more than 5,000 pre-orders, only 2,000 people have submitted their receipts to get the free stuff. I don't want there to be a lot of unhappy people in February and March. davidpakman.com/free book stuff. Pre-order and submit proof of pre-order by 11:59 p.m. January 25th. At the stroke of midnight on the 26th, we will be cutting it off. All right? So we will take a quick break. What a show. We're actually going to record this one because it seems worth archiving. Did you know that countless commercial databases and people search sites are storing your personal information? Anyone from an employer to a former partner can use these platforms to get details about your online presence, your home address, phone number, email, license plate, family members, financial information, even political views. Europe has laws that offer some protection, but in the US, the data is widely accessible. Even the FBI will buy this information from companies to spy on people without a search warrant. Our sponsor, Incogni, provides a solution. It takes just seconds to sign up, and Incogni will send removal requests to all of the major data brokers, legally compelling them to get rid of your data. Incogni keeps you informed throughout the process. You'll get real-time updates, who has complied, which ones are still pending. They'll handle follow-ups, they'll handle appeals on your behalf, and this will save you hundreds of hours. Very few people have the time or resources to do this on their own. This service can also reduce the number of spam calls and emails you get, since many solicitors and scammers get your information from these very same sources. Go to incogni.com/Pacman and use the code Pacman for 60% off. The link is below.